What's up, guys? My name is Magic Mike. I thought I would give you guys a little bit of a tutorial on how to play some of the most popular decks in the meta right now. Um, now, right now, what am I? I'm 251 legend. I'm not like the best player out there, but I'm a pretty skilled player, and I know the in and outs of the decks for the most part. So I thought I'd share some of my knowledge with some of you basic players and pretty much let you see how these decks work. So I thought I'd start today with aggro shaman. It's the most common deck out there. I thought that'd be a good place to start. Um, if you want to climb quickly, it's probably the best deck to use. But although this deck is very, very strong, you have to play it correctly if you want to win, as with every deck. Um, if you don't utilize your cards in the correct way, then the build doesn't really matter as much because you're wasting your cards, you're wasting your resources. So I can go over the cards in this deck. This is the way I run it. Um, I'd say probably the top aggro shaman guy right now is Tyler, and he does not run these thing from belows. I've been testing them out. I kind of like them. I think they have value because I mean you have enough value in the early game that you're going to beat anybody if it goes long. These are nice to have. He doesn't run these. He runs um, a South Sea deckhand instead and a second Maelstrom portal. Those are definitely worth running. I don't run a second Maelstrom portal because I don't think that's aggressive enough. So I don't think it does much in the early game. I guess it can help you control board, but against like Arena Lock or Mage, you're not really going to be able to rush them down with a Maelstrom portal. So it's kind of a dead card. So if you're going to do the long game, I feel like Think from Below is just better in the long game. But I mean, he's god of aggro shaman, so maybe he's right. This is the list I run. I can go over the cards. Lightning Bolt, obviously. If you're looking at Lightning Bolt, Lava Burst, Jade Lightning, I mean, that's just damage to the face. They're good cards. They help you control board. Patches, obviously, insane card. Pair with the Small Time Buccaneers, which go well with the Spirit Claws and the Jade Claws. That's why you run them to buff them up, and they help you trade well on board. Sir Finley, I feel like this is a pretty important card, and some people have cut it. Um, I personally really like it. It allows you to get hero powers like Hunter Hero Power, which helps you push 2 damage when you don't have when you're running low on cards, let's say, and you don't have um, enough cards to fill out your mana curve. Being able to push 2 extra damage is like really key. As well as if you get the Warlock Hero Power, which is the best. So for you new players, that's the best hero power in the game, Warlock Hero Power. And especially with an aggro deck like this, it's by far the best because it lets you keep getting these cards that lets you keep pushing the damage. So once you start running low on cards and running low on resources, because that's essentially what Hearthstone is, it's a game of resources. So when you start running low on these resources, being able to tap and use the Warlock hero power to gain cards helps you keep that advantage on board and pushing damage to the face. Because I mean, once you run out of cards, you lose. They're going to have the answers for them. So I think Finley is a very important card. Tunnel Trog obviously is insane. It gets buffed by any overload card for anyone that has no idea what Tunnel Trog is. I mean, I'm sure most of you guys do because you've been destroyed by it at some point. It obviously pairs well with Totem Golem and Feral Spirits. They're great cards. Thalanos is really important. Um, if you don't have a Blood Mage Thalanos, it's not essential to the deck. It's really important to get extra damage for like lightning bolts and the lava burst, etc. And it buffs up the spirit claws. But it's not necessarily essential to the deck. So if you can't afford to pay for that legendary, you could probably run a deckhand, or I mean, you could maybe run. I don't even know the name of him. You could maybe run this guy, the Cobalt Geomancer, even with spell damage. I think I'd probably go with the deckhand instead, or maybe a second Maelstrom. But the deck's fine without him. Jade Claws, yeah, it pairs well with the Jade Lightnings, the Aya, and the Buccaneers, obviously. Feral Spirit's really good. Totem Golem really good. Obviously, 4-mana 7/7, kind of broken. Azure Drake's important. It helps you in the late game to get a little bit of cycle. If you're running low on cards, it lets you play a card as well as draw a card. So it replaces itself in value and gives you spell damage. Eye is really good, obviously, because it pairs with the Jade Golems. The thing from blows, they're pretty much 0-mana 5/5s, a taunt. They're obviously really good. So the deck itself is pretty self-explanatory. Like you can understand why it's good. There's a lot of good cards in it. Makes sense. The key to aggro shaman is a lot of people think you're really just trying to push all damage to the face. That's not necessarily how this deck works. And that's not how all aggro decks work in general. Same with Power Warrior. You don't necessarily want to push all damage to the face. The key is to get repetitive damage. So you want your minions to stick, because as long as they stick around, you're going to get damage over and over again. So I'll play a game and I'll show you my thought process on everything and why I do what I do. And hopefully it'll make sense and the deck will make more sense. Because although an aggro shaman or aggro deck in general's goal is to just kill the opponent quickly, the way you do that is not necessarily by going face. It's by maintaining the board and pushing repetitive damage. So, we got a rogue. And we're going second. So what does rogue play on turn 1? They have Small Time Buccaneer, and they have Swashbuckler. This hand's really good, so I don't really have to think too much about it. You can keep Tunnel Trog because on turn 2 you can play Totem Golem and buff him. You can play Small Time Buccaneer, turn 2 buff him with Totem Golem. Or you can coin out Totem Golem, and then play either one of these two guys. So you can keep all three because they can all answer what they do. So there's not much thought in this mulligan. You just want to keep the strongest things, and this hand's insane. It's absolutely nuts. So we'll walk through the plays. He played Swashbuckler, and he doesn't have patches. Okay, so that's interesting. So what do we want to do? We could play Tunnel Trog, which would trade into this well if he does a weapon. We could play Buccaneer and punch this with patches. And we would want to punch it with patches. We wouldn't want to go face with patches because then he could just trade this and his weapon into the Buccaneer and kill it. So that's pointless. Or we could coin out Totem Golem, which is also okay. I personally wouldn't want to coin out Totem Golem here because then you only have 1 mana next turn. You have so many good 1 mana options that I don't think it's worth it. I personally think Tunnel Trog's a good play here because there's no way he can really answer it cleanly unless he uses a backstab. And you're okay with that if he uses a backstab. And it's going to get buffed by the Totem Golem next turn, so I think this is the play. It's not 100% right because you have so many good options, but I think that's probably the play here. Pretty good draw for him. So, now we have a couple options. We could kill this with Jade Claws. We could kill the 1/1. Oh god, this is a tough turn. I kind of like killing this and just getting it out of the way. He's overloaded. There's not much he can do except for play his weapon. So we're going to go ahead and kill this. And we're going to coin out this guy because he gets buffed by our weapon. So we can go ahead and trade into this. And trade into that because we don't want him to be able to have a trade into this with the weapon. So we want to kill that. So, as an aggro shaman, all we've done so far is trade. We've taken 4 damage. You know, that doesn't seem like what you want to do, but that's how you play this game. See? So now we have Totem Golem, easy play. 2 mana Totem Golem every time. So, now we can attack face with this, attack with that. We're going to go ahead and kill this so it doesn't take out our Buccaneer. and we have the Spirit Claws equipped next time to give them the buff. So we already got a good board building. We're getting repetitive damage out of these minions because we keep them alive. That's why we trade on board. He's most likely, on turn 4, he's most likely going to play, well, he didn't, so, never mind. Okay, SI. So, what options do we have here? So we could totem and hope for a spell damage and then hit the 3/3. Or we could lightning bolt the 3/3 and kill the 1/1. That doesn't seem that good because we float a mana. Then the key, I think it's very important to just roll for a totem here first. So we got spell damage, so that was lucky. So we can go ahead and do this. We could make a value trade here. I think we want to start pushing face damage with all these burn spells in hand. So we can go ahead and do this, and we can just trade the 1/1s. We want to trade with it because it can be coupled with a card like Cold Blood and take out a bigger minion, and we don't want to give them that. We don't want to give them that value. We want to keep our big minions on the board if possible. So we have a pretty good. We have a not a huge board, but we have a decent board right now, coupled with the Spirit Claws, and we can do Hero Power thing from below next turn. So I mean we're in pretty good shape right here. I mean this is a good matchup, but the key is just controlling board with this deck. It's not necessarily pushing face damage. You just want to keep the board so you can get that repetitive damage. If this hits 3 times, that's 9 damage. That's much better than, you know, throwing a lightning bolt at face and then this dying. Okay, so that's a lot of damage. What's that? 4, 8, 14, 17, 20. We're 3 off lethal. So this is going face. We want this to die. I think this is the play. Throw a lightning bolt at it, kill with our face, drop that 5/5. Seems okay. Puts 8 power on board. With this is 11, plus this is 21, which is lethal. So we set lethal here. There is some consideration just going face there with everything. I think that's a little greedy personally. I don't see how I feel like trading is a more safe play. Things could have definitely gone wrong if we didn't trade. So I think trading's right there. I mean, unless he plays a taunt, which rogues almost certainly don't play, he has to kill one of these minions, and that's not enough to do anything. Yeah, it's not good enough. So that's lethal. Just throw it all face. And so that looked probably pretty simple to most people, but the main point of this video is trying to explain that when you're playing with a deck like aggro shaman or aggro or pirate warrior or something, I'll explain that in another video. You're not necessarily trying to just throw everything face. Because if you just throw everything at face, you run out of resources. And then if they just kill your stuff, you're just out of stuff. You don't have anything. The goal is to keep your minions alive at all costs so they can repetitively hit for damage. If they repetitively hit for damage, you win. You just got to control board. That's how you play these type of decks. So I'll come at you guys next time, probably with a Reno deck or something more complex. Hopefully this video was informative and you guys learned a little bit more about the deck. Till next time.